Hello, how are you?
I'm fine.
Doing well today? Good. How long have you been at the Institute?
At the Institute since 1989, so that's 28 years.
And where were you before you were here?
Before I was here, I taught with Michael Gazzo. Do you know who Michael Gazzo is?
No.
Yeah, he wrote Hatful of Rain, nominated for an Oscar in Godfather Part 2, part of Frankie Pantangeli's. And he got me started teaching.
And why do you still teach?
I personally feel that it is an obligation, and I love it. You know, I have a passion for the work, and I have a passion for young actors that have a passion for the work, truthfully, you know. And I feel if one has gone out into the world and made a living as an actor, there is an obligation, I feel, that that person come back and show his way, and the students will make it their way in their own personal, choices, because he's had the experience, or she's had the experience. You follow? Now, there are actors that are very gifted, that have done very well in acting, but they do not have the ability to teach, and they shouldn't teach. But if an actor has been out in the world and been successful in the sense that made a living, not necessarily superstardom, but made a living, and has the ability to teach, I think he should. I certainly do, and plus I have a passion for it. I have. Now it's not. Well, there are exceptions. I have people consider me strict. I personally don't think I am, but I am an extremist in the sense that for me, in my whole life, the only thing that matters is the throne or the grave. Anything in between is meaningless. So it's extreme. So for a teacher-student relationship to work at its best, at its optimum, which is what I'm interested in, the will of the student to learn has to equal the will of the teacher to teach. And if those wills aren't equal, it doesn't work.
So, lots of students moving to New York for coming here, moving to New York for NYU, moving to New York to come to the Institute.
Sure.
I think that you can come here thinking maybe there's a lot of misconception out there that acting is not that much work. It can't be. You're just being yourself on stage, right? So what would you say?
That's a lot of work.
Right.
That's a lot of work. And it's not a lot of work once you learn that you're talented and you've got to trust your talent. And a lot of people, especially young actors, are very gifted. But because they're young, they don't trust that. They're not even aware of it. They think they have to do things. And they really don't. They just have to get out of the way of their talent. Let their talent do it. It has nothing to do with them, in a way. They are just as I am, as you are, as Logan is. We're vessels for that force that comes out of the universe, wherever it comes from. This is the spiritual realm, what we deal with. And we don't end where our flesh and bones are, We go way beyond that. And in that realm, that's where talent exists. And that's triggered by, if you have an acting talent, a talent to act, it's triggered by a script, a great script, a great, that you connect with. Then things start happening.
Yeah.
You said, you follow?
Yeah.
And you listen to that. And you start, your impulses, your instincts, your intuition start to come to the fore, so to speak. And you allow that to happen. Just get out of the way of it. Too many young actors try to manipulate it, try to direct it, watch themselves, direct themselves, make choices before they've really had a chance to allow the scene to talk to them.
Yeah, I think I guess I'm curious what you think about the idea. Something that really shocked me here, maybe, was the idea that, like, I'm acting in a scene where my father dies. My father's never died,
Right.
but I use my dog dying, and that, because of my human experience is this. Somebody else's is that, but I can still use mine to stretch into that. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, and I completely disagree with that.
Okay, so
because most young students think that's what they have to do. Oh, this is the method. Okay, somebody died. Well, my father didn't die, but my dog died, so I can use that. You don't have to use anything if you're gifted. You follow? Your talent will know what to do. If it doesn't, if your talent is stuck, then you go to the method. Lee used to say all the time, if it's not fixed, if you're not sick, don't take the medicine. But there are too many people that just, before they even have a chance to breathe, they're thinking about, I need a place, I need a personal object. You don't need any of that if you just turn it over to your talent. Talent is immense, but not if you get in the way of it. And the ego gets in the way of it. And I don't mean the ego in the word, I'm the greatest. I don't mean that. I just mean we all have egos. And the ego, for me, sits on the shoulder and it whispers in your ear, don't do that. Remember the last time you did that? They all laughed. Don't do that. You've got to knock your ego off your shoulder and strong will to get down to where you really exist. And that's scary for a lot of people. That is.
So what would you say to students who are thinking about coming here and feel very intimidated by this work, feel like it's not possible for them? Do you have any advice for those potential students?
Look, intimidation, everybody's intimidated. I was intimidated, but I had a strong will, getting back to the will again. I had a strong will to study. I knew I had to study. I didn't even know whether I was talented or not. I'm talking about like when I was interviewed by Sanford Meisner at the Neighborhood Playhouse. You follow? I just knew I had to study. But I was very intimidated, But you get over that. You get over that. And if you don't get over that, that's not an acting problem. That has to be taken care of somewhere else. This isn't group therapy. You follow? It's the method. Now, therapy and the method do share some common ground, no question about that. But that's when the talent is stuck and you want to start to step back a little bit, look at the scene and ask yourself, why am I here? What do I need? What does it mean to me to get what I need? What am I doing to get the actions? You follow?
Yeah, definitely. So, how do you make your class a safe place, a place where people can fail?
I'm honest, I'm fair, and I love people that are here to work. If people aren't here to work, they sense that, and they're not in my class. I'm not a babysitter, for want of a better word. I don't want to. It's I don't know. I never, It's not my personality. I'm very honest. I'm very fair, but I expect people to show up on time, ready to work. That's the professional arena. When you have an acting job, you're expected to be on time, ready to work. And that starts in the classes here at the Institute. You're on time. Class starts at 1:30, you're there at 1:30, and you're ready to work. You're scheduled to do a scene, you're ready to do that scene. You're prepared to do that scene. If you're not, and that persists, you get into another class.
Yeah.
That's one of the great things about the school, in my opinion, is there are a lot of different teachers here that have different takes on the work.
So what would you say to people who maybe have not discovered their talent yet, or don't feel that they possess that talent, but like you maybe want to study? Do you think that everyone has some sort of talent?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not. And this isn't for everybody that, I'd love to be an actor. I guess I'll go to the Strasberg Institute of Stella Adler, Neighborhood Playhouse, Circle in the Square, then I'll be there for maybe, I'll give it a year. Then I'll go out and start working at my own TV show. I mean, it doesn't work that way, Before I started, I always made a living, knock on wood, as an actor. But it was meager because I worked in theater and I worked in regional theater. But I worked steadily, and I would say 8 years before I really started getting parts on television and on Broadway, especially television, where I made money. And then from then on, I worked, did a lot of television. What I did, my whole thing was just work, and work will lead to work, and that's exactly what happened to me. I never thought about LA, I never thought about Broadway, I never thought about New York, I just worked. But in working, you meet other people at work, and activity breeds more activity. You follow? And so my first job here in New York it was Serpico was early on, a movie with Al Pacino that I was in. But the first play I did was directed by my first summer stock job. One of the directors there directed me in a play, and we got along real well. We both appreciated the way each of us worked, so we stayed in touch. And then he gets a play to direct at the Public Theater. And he goes, "George, I'm doing a play at the Public Theater. It's a perfect part for you. Are you around? Are you available? You going to be around?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, come on down and read it." I read it. Boom, called my agent. I said, "I'm doing this play." And that led to other shows at the Public Theater, and a show that Len Carey, who directed, that Brooke Adams was in, and Dan Daniels. I don't know if you know those people because you're young, but they were in it, and The Petrified Forest, and I played Duke Mantee, and then that led to television, and that,
Wow. So maybe it's...
And I didn't plan any of it.
Right.
It just happened.
So it's about not discounting anyone you meet, anyone who is working, too.
If I like them, I'm not a people person. You follow? I don't go. I'm not. A professional, nice person. If I like a person, I get along with them. If I don't like a person, I just avoid them. I don't deal with that. Which doesn't help, you know what I mean? But that's the way I am, and it's like, I have to be truthful to that.
I'd imagine that some of your previous students will watch this video. I think that maybe when you're in school or when you're studying, you don't realize how finite your time is here. What advice would you have for those students?
I mention that all the time, because people have a tendency not to be prepared, not to get little lackadaisical, little casual, little. And I tell them it's not even 2 years; it's 18 months. It's 9 months, and that's it. I mean, you can come after, but still, that's basically it. So yeah, their time is finite, no question about that. And I think it's also important to mention, I certainly do in my classes, and that is that you're not going to learn everything you need to know to be a working professional actor. I didn't, and I studied with some of the best people on the planet. You can learn, for want of a better way of putting it, in percentage terms, let's say, 50% of what you need to know to be a working, successful actor. The other 50% you can only learn by going out and doing it. I wish there were another way of doing it, but there just isn't. Unless people know your work. I mean, there have been times when I was fortunate enough to know the director and not have to audition, but most of the times you audition. Yeah.
So people who are out of school right now are struggling or can't afford to come back, but are struggling with their work and their craft. What would you say to them? What little nugget?
It's all good. You're on a journey. You follow? There are going to be bad patches. No question about that. It wasn't all up, wasn't soaring for me or anyone that I know. But you've got to need to do this. Wanting to be an actor isn't enough. You've got to need to act. You've got to need to do that. And that's got to be deeply rooted in your psyche, in your soul. And if you have that need, rejection is nothing. Rejection is positive. Because every rejection, if I tell my students, go on 2 auditions a week, do 5 things a day for your career. If you do, and that's minimal. If you do that, you will have done 100 auditions in 1 year. You will have done 1,500 things for your career in 1 year. I guarantee you, with that kind of activity, somebody's going to hire you. Do you believe that? That's absolutely true. It hasn't even got anything to do with talent. It's just numbers. And if you accept that premise, I certainly do, then someone's going to hire you, right? You just don't know when. But someone is going to hire you. So a rejection, everyone's not going to say no. So the no gets you that much closer to the yes. And that's the best way to look at it. It's a journey. You're on it. You're committed to it. And that's joyous. You're on top of the world. Now there's pain, there's no agony, no question about that.
That was beautiful.
But the need has to be there. The need has to be there. Yeah.
As a last thought, do you have anything else that you'd like to add? Anything we missed?
No, along with being truthful, a thing that helps that is to listen. I don't think that's mentioned enough, in my humble opinion, to just simply listen. Really listen. Not to the words, but to the person, your partner's behavior. What your partner is doing. The subtext. What's going on underneath the words. That's the actor's world. Not the text, but the subtext. And to listen is super important. A lot of actors don't listen. They just get ready for their cue. They've decided what they're going to do. And some of them are very clever at that. But it's not real, and it's unfortunate. It's not helpful.